She would spend hours locked in her room, talking, but never with anyone her mother could see. At first, they were barely audible whispers, disconnected words that were lost in the air. The mother, from the hallway, looked at the half-open door and felt a chill down her spine, not understanding what was happening inside. Sometimes the girl laughed to herself, asked questions, and seemed to hear answers that no one else could hear. There was something strange, something that could not be explained. The room, which should have been just a safe space, was transformed into a parallel universe. And the mother's curiosity grew every day, mixed with a hint of fear. The neighbors never understood, the friends didn't know, but that girl carried secrets that seemed bigger than her childhood itself. Words emerged as if they came from somewhere else, as if there was someone there, invisible to everyone's eyes. And then, on a day that seemed like any other, the mother finally decided to come in. What she discovered inside that room changed everything she believed about her daughter, about the world, and about the secrets that are sometimes closer than we imagine. No one understood what those words meant, until finally the truth was revealed in a surprising way. It was an ordinary house, with white walls, slightly weathered by time, the floor creaking softly with every step, and the familiar scent of chocolate cake in the air. To any visitor, it seemed like just another home, simple, welcoming, but to those who lived there were small subtleties that hinted at something different lurking in the shadows. Upstairs, in the corner room, bathed in the soft afternoon sunlight, a curly-haired girl spent hours alone. She played with her dolls, drew strange figures on paper, or simply murmured words that seemed to come from another world, words that floated through the air, as if carrying meanings no one else could comprehend. Her mother, exhausted after long work days, would often pass through the hallway, only to hear fragments of these conversations, fragments that made her heart race and the hairs on her arms stand on end. Who was she talking to? She wondered, never imagining the depth of what was happening in that room. There was something different about the way her daughter spoke, something that didn't fit with familiar reality, and that feeling of discomfort, mixed with curiosity, grew with each passing day. It was impossible not to connect with the girl. She was only 7 years old, but she had a look in her eyes that seemed to see far beyond the walls of that room. Her large, curious eyes reflected a secret world, an entire universe of thoughts and feelings that no one, not even the adults around her, could easily grasp. There was a mystery in the way she moved, the way she tilted her head as she listened to her imaginary answers. That was both captivating and unsettling at the same time. The routine of the house continued seemingly normal. The smell of breakfast, the sound of the kettle on the stove, her mother's hurried footsteps, everything seemed to follow a familiar pattern. But inside the girl's room, time followed a different rhythm, slower, deeper, more intense. Every word she murmured seemed to carry weight, meaning, as if each sentence were a bridge to something beyond what the eye could see. Sometimes the mother would stop in the hallway, gripping the doorknob, her breath catching in her chest. She heard soft laughter, sighs, small questions thrown into the air, and sometimes answers that seemed to come out of nowhere, from an unseen place, leaving the mother completely puzzled. Who was there? Who was her daughter talking to? And most importantly, how did she know things no one could teach her? The mother's curiosity grew, but it was also accompanied by a hint of fear. Something about that room was unusual, something beyond simple child's play. And the girl, she seemed completely oblivious to all the world, safe and happy within that reality no one else could touch. And as the house continued its daily routine, the audience could imagine, like the mother, what secret was hidden in that room, what was really going on inside. Every word, every laugh, every look from the girl seemed to be a silent invitation to discover something extraordinary. And that was exactly what was about to happen. Something that would forever change the way the mother saw her daughter, and perhaps even the world around her. Because sometimes what seems like just a whisper, a solitary conversation, hides stories capable of making us question everything we believed to be real. And the next moment, that instant when the door opens and the truth is revealed, will be enough to leave everyone breathless, connected, wanting to discover what no one else ever imagined. And it is at this point, at this threshold between the known and the unknown, that the story truly begins. As the months passed, something began to change in the girl's room. Conversations, once sparse and barely audible, became more frequent, more intense. Now whispers filled the air with a cadence that could no longer be ignored. It was as if the room itself had a life of its own, breathing along with her, reacting to every word, every laugh, every question that emerged from nowhere. She laughed to herself, letting out small giggles that echoed through the hallway, like music mixed with mystery. She asked questions, sometimes curiously, sometimes with an almost adult care, and then answered them immediately, as if she were talking to someone who truly understood every word. But whenever anyone tried to look, no one could see who was on the other side. She was invisible, ethereal, a secret friend who existed only for her. The mother began to notice patterns that had previously gone unnoticed. She realized that her daughter wasn't talking to herself randomly, but rather that there was a rhythm, a logic, almost as if there was a dialogue that transcended human understanding. She wondered, were these voices of the imagination the fruit of an overly creative mind, or something deeper, something no one could explain? As her mother's curiosity grew, so did a restlessness she couldn't ignore. There were nights when she would stand silently in the hallway, just listening. And it was on those nights that the impossible seemed more real than anything ordinary. Soft laughter, delicate whispers, answers that came out of nowhere. And on one such occasion, a sound froze her mother's heart. A clear whisper saying her own name, with an intonation almost affectionate, almost familiar. She took a few steps back, holding her breath. Her heart tightened, the air felt thicker, and a mixture of fear and fascination washed over her. How could anyone hear that? How could such intimate words pass through walls, through time, and reach her ear with such frightening clarity? Each night became a torment. She wanted to discover the truth, but she also feared what she would find. The girl, for her part, remained calm, oblivious to her mother's growing tension. Her eyes shone, full of mystery and joy. It seemed she knew something the adult world couldn't yet comprehend. Every laugh, every question, every answer was a silent invitation to come closer, to try to see the invisible. But at the same time, there was an implicit warning. Not everything is ready to be revealed. Not everything can be touched or explained. Days and nights blurred together, and the feeling that something extraordinary was about to happen became unbearable. The hallway, once merely a passage to other rooms, now seemed like a bridge between worlds. The girl's room, with its light curtains swaying in the breeze, became a sacred space of mystery. Every word spoken within, every silent gesture the girl made, carried an emotional weight no one could ignore. And so the mother began to feel she was on the verge of discovering something that would change her life forever. Something that would explain those nights of laughter, whispers, and words that appeared out of nowhere. Something that could transform the concept of reality, imagination, and even maternal love and care. With each moment she hesitated. Each time she approached the bedroom door, the anticipation grew. What was hidden behind that door? Who or what was really talking to her daughter? Tension mounted. Fear mixed with curiosity created an almost palpable urgency. Each night brought new questions, new clues, and at the same time kept the secret ever closer, ever more unattainable. The audience, like the mother, felt trapped on this threshold, between doubt and revelation, between the known and the extraordinary. And it's precisely at this point that the story becomes irresistible. The next step, the moment when the mother finally discovers the truth, promises to bring not only answers, but also an emotion no viewer will be prepared for, because some truths are so intense, so unexpected, that they forever change the way we see the world. And no one could have imagined what was about to unfold inside that room, until one afternoon, after months of doubt, uncertainty, and nights of silent vigil, the mother decided she could no longer ignore what was happening in that room. Her heart pounded, a mixture of fear and determination, as she climbed the stairs, the soft creak beneath her feet. Each step seemed heavier than the last, as if the very air in the hallway carried the accumulated tension of months of unsolved mysteries. She gripped the doorknob, felt the cold metal against her palm, and hesitated for a moment, just a moment, as she took a deep breath. There was something inside that room she still didn't fully understand, something that simultaneously drew her in and terrified her. The soft laughter, the enigmatic whispers, those seemingly unspoken answers, all of it pulsed through her mind, creating a mixture of curiosity and dread that seemed almost unbearable. Without warning, she decided to enter. There was no time to wait, no more patience for hypotheses or superficial explanations. Each step into the room seemed to carry a symbolic weight, the weight of doubt, maternal love, and fear of the unknown. And there, in the center of the space that had previously seemed merely a child's room, she saw something she could never have imagined. The girl sat on the small wooden chair, eyes fixed on a point in front of her, as if completely immersed in a conversation that no one could interrupt. She spoke calmly, without hesitation, with the naturalness of someone who grew up knowing that the person she was talking to was real, though invisible to everyone else. The silence that fell over the room was almost palpable. The mother paused, observing her daughter's every gesture, the way she tilted her head, the way she gestured slightly, the way her hands moved in the air, accompanying each word. And then came the certainty that it wasn't imagination. It couldn't be. There was something there, something that defied any logical explanation, something that didn't belong to the visible world, but that somehow was completely present in that space. The mother's heart sank. Her breathing quickened, but she couldn't look away. Every sentence the girl spoke seemed to carry a deeper meaning, as if each word were an invisible thread connecting two worlds. It was impossible not to feel the intensity of that moment. The room seemed smaller, as if the air had become dense, charged with energy and mystery. And then, what no one could have imagined happened. The mother realized that her daughter wasn't talking to herself. There was presence, there was attention, there was a real answer to every question, to every smile, to every laugh. But it wasn't something she could touch or see directly. It was something that required faith, or perhaps the ability to feel with the heart more than with the eyes. The tension grew even more intense because in that instant, the mother realized something that would forever change her understanding of the world. Something that not only explained her daughter's behavior, but also defied all logic she knew. That conversation, that laughter, the girl's look of absolute tranquility before something invisible. Everything indicated that there existed something beyond what any adult could imagine, something that was part of a parallel, secret, and profoundly true reality. She felt a mixture of fear, awe, and overwhelming curiosity. Each second seemed to drag on and at the same time pass at a dizzying speed. The room, which had previously seemed merely a physical space, was now an arena of possibilities, a portal to the unknown, where everything she believed about everyday life and childhood began to change. And in that moment, without realizing it, the mother understood that she was about to witness something that could not be explained with words alone, something that would forever transform the relationship between her and her daughter, that would break the barrier between reality and mystery, and that would leave the audience holding their breath, waiting to find out who or what was really talking to the girl. The next moment promised not just answers, but a revelation capable of changing everything. A truth so intense, so unexpected, that it would make everyone question what they believed was possible, because sometimes the deepest secrets aren't hidden in distant places, but right before our eyes, just waiting for someone brave enough to see them. The surprise was so great that the mother was speechless. For a moment, time seemed to freeze inside that room, and even the air felt heavy, charged with an energy she had never felt before. Every breath, every heartbeat was marked by absolute, almost reverent silence, as if the universe itself had paused to witness it. She stared at her daughter, trying to make sense of what she saw. The girl remained there, sitting in the wooden chair, her eyes shining, and she was talking to someone no one could imagine. But it wasn't an imaginary friend, nor a talking toy, nor any typical invention of a child's mind. It was something real, something invisible to the eye, yet deeply present. Every word the girl spoke, every gesture, every smile, carried a silent, palpable force, a presence that filled the entire room, making it for the mother to deny or disregard. The mother's heart raced as she tried to process what her eyes and ears were witnessing. It was as if something she had believed impossible had become concrete before her. The girl smiled, chatted, and even asked questions that were answered, though no one else could see or hear the answers. There was a complete dialogue taking place, one filled with logic, emotion, and even humor, transcending any rational explanation. And in that instant, something shifted inside the mother. A profound feeling began to grow, a mixture of wonder, reverence, and a strange sense that her world, as she knew it, was about to be rebuilt. Every detail of the room seemed different. Now the sunlight streaming through the window, the gently swaying curtains, the scent of her daughter's baby perfume, everything seemed to carry a new meaning. What had once been familiar now became something extraordinary, almost sacred. She realized she could never look at her daughter the same way again. That girl, so small and innocent, had revealed something that surpassed human understanding, something that challenged all the certainties her mother had built about the world, about reality, about what is possible to feel and perceive. The invisible presence her daughter was talking to was not only real, it was conscious, attentive, capable of interaction, and deeply connected to the girl. As the mother stood there, motionless, she tried to control the mix of emotions coursing through her: fear, astonishment, love, disbelief, and overwhelming curiosity. Her daughter's every gesture, every word spoken, carried nuances that seemed understood only by that other, invisible being, and the mother began to realize that perhaps she was facing something greater than herself, something that could not be grasped by logic or human observation alone. She watched the girl's every movement, every change in her face, the sparkle in her eyes, the slight smile, the expression of concentration as she listened for answers no one else could hear. And then a thought coursed through the mother's mind with overwhelming force. That invisible presence wasn't just with her daughter. Somehow it was changing her very perception of reality. It was impossible to ignore, impossible to pretend it wasn't there. The room, once merely a physical space, became a realm of discovery and mystery. What the mother was seeing wasn't just a childish phenomenon or a fertile imagination. It was a real manifestation of something that existed parallel to her perception of the world, something that defied laws, patterns, and human explanations. And in that moment, she understood. Life, as she knew it, was about to change forever. And it's at this point that the story becomes impossible to put down, because the revelation doesn't end there. It just begins to open doors no one imagined existed. The audience, like the mother, feels that mixture of disbelief and anticipation, waiting for the next piece of the puzzle, the next move that will transform the entire logic of the story. And the question that hangs in the air like a gentle but insistent breeze is inevitable. Who or what was really there with the girl? And what would this discovery mean for everyone's lives? The tension builds, the suspense builds, and every passing second keeps the audience hooked, eager to discover the truth that is about to be revealed. Because some experiences are so intense, so profound, that they transform not only the present, but the entire future, and the mother knew in that moment that nothing would ever be the same again. The room was never just a room again. The space that had once been merely a physical room became a silent sanctuary, a portal to something greater than any rational explanation could grasp. Every piece of furniture, every toy, every laugh that echoed there began to carry an emotional and symbolic weight that no adult could ignore. For the mother, every step in that space seemed to awaken memories, emotions, and perceptions that had previously been dormant, but which now manifested themselves with strength and clarity. She realized that some things in the world cannot be seen or touched. They must be felt. They exist in the space between the heart and the mind, in those small, invisible connections that remind us that there is much more to the universe than meets the eye. The girl, with her innocence, courage, and Sensitivity was the key to this discovery. It was impressive to observe how someone so young could perceive and interact with dimensions that most adults would never notice. She saw no limits, no barriers between the visible and the invisible. For her, the world was full of possibilities, full of hidden presences and meanings, ready to be explored by anyone brave enough to listen. And it was this ability to listen and feel that transformed her mother's fear and doubt into admiration and understanding. Sometimes what seemed strange or frightening ceased to be a cause for fear and became a profound lesson. The unknown, the invisible, what once provoked unease, became an opportunity for growth, learning, and connection. The silence of the room began to have a voice. The absence of explanation began to have meaning. The mystery began to be understood as something sacred. Each whisper of the girl, each delicate gesture, each word addressed to the invisible presence was invitation to see the world through different eyes, with an open heart, ready to receive the unexpected. The mother, who had previously felt confused and even frightened, understood that reality isn't limited solely by what we can see or touch. She realized that life, human perception, and understanding of the universe have layers that often escape logic and reason, and that to perceive these layers requires courage, patience, and above all, sensitivity to listen. She learned that it's not necessary to understand everything immediately. Sometimes it's enough to feel, trust, and allow ourselves to believe that there's something greater working on our behalf. And the girl, with her delicate yet powerful presence, showed that even in the smallest and simplest people, there are entire hidden worlds of dreams, faith, courage, and love. Worlds that exist within each of us, ready to be explored if we have the sensitivity to listen and observe. She taught us that the greatest discoveries are not always found in books, schools, or scientific explanations, but in the connection between the human heart and that which transcends the physical, that which reminds us of the essence of life, love, presence, and understanding. What seemed like just a room, therefore, became a symbol of transformation, a transformation that goes beyond physical space, reaching every corner of the mind and heart. Fear of the unknown transformed into understanding, loneliness into connection, silence into love. The experience left the mother and all of us who observed this story with a clear lesson. Life is full of mysteries that don't need to be explained, but lived, felt, and respected. The invisible world is present, and if we have courage and attention, we can learn profound lessons that shape us forever. And this is the message we want you to take into your life. Pay attention to the little voices, the signs, the experiences that seem irrelevant or inexplicable. They can contain lessons that change the way you see the world, your relationships with others, and even your very essence. Sometimes all it takes is listening, feeling, and allowing yourself to believe that there is something greater guiding and protecting you.